កម្មវិធីកិច្ចសន្ទនាកម្ពុជានិងពិភពលោក
Good evening, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to Cambodia Global Dialogue or Southeast Asia TV. Well, we're in the new year now. Time passed, and I think the exciting thing about the new year, the Christmas period. Now we're moving to the Chinese New Year, and soon it's going to be the Khmer New Year. It's a lot of New Year, but one good thing about this New Year is that we love to spend. We love to go shopping, and that's bringing me to the topic of this particular dialogue. Is that we're going to talk about payment, but not necessarily about cash, because for us it's always about, when you think about payment, you think about cash. But it's not necessarily true with this sort of like, I would say, globalized world, internet world, web-based world. And I have the pleasure today to have with me a good friend, Cynthia Liao, who is the CEO, Chief Executive Officer of Maybank Cambodia. Cynthia, welcome.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, thank you for having me here today.
Yeah, well, I thought that people love to spend, but the world is changing. We don't need to carry cash with us anymore. And I thought that with your background in not just in banking, but from your previous work in Singapore on I don't know, I'm not going to even try to describe it. I'm just going to give you a few minutes, and then you describe yourself, what you did in the past, and how does it lead to Cambodia? And perhaps that will be a good start.
Okay, well, I started my career with one of the local bank in Singapore, in 1994. Basically, I've been actually in banking since in payments since 1998. I've been to I've was with Mastercard. Then I was also with Nets, which is actually one of the biggest payments network company in Singapore.
In Singapore, yes.
Yes.
So what does Nets?
Nets.
Oh, Nets.
Nets.
How do you spell it?
N-E-T-S.
N-E-T-S, okay.
Yes.
And what they do there?
Basically this is actually one of the biggest acquirer in Singapore. The local banks is actually the shareholders. They actually issue the cards.
Yes.
But Nets is actually the one that will sign up the merchant to accept the cards. So in Nets, when I left, they had almost about 80,000 terminals in such a small island. Yeah. So
and what does it does really?
Basically, we promote cashless. Then we want customers to net it instead of paying by cash. So the segment will cover the traditional segment like your departmental stores, your restaurants, even your hotels. But I was actually responsible for the portfolio that is for micro payments. So they actually have a contactless card called the Nets Fresh Pay, which allows you to basically pay for your all your total daily necessities. From the time you wake up in the morning, you want to grab a coffee, you can tap, pay for your coffee, at one of the coffee joints, and then when you take the MRT, you can tap at the gantry, and then you can enter the MRT just with that card. And when you need to go for lunch, you can use it at the food court, and then you can pay for your lunch. So basically, you can go totally cashless with that.
What's the difference then? Because in Cambodia, okay, we're not there yet, but doesn't stop us to move to that direction. But what's the difference between, you mentioned you work for Mastercard, for example. What's the difference between that mode of payment and what you just described in Singapore?
Actually, Mastercard also have prepaid cards. Okay, but for the key difference, for Nets then was that the card allows them to go on to the transit as well as using the same card for the road electronic road pricing. So even whether you take the MRT, or you drive, you just need to have that card.
What do you see the application in Cambodia, for example? If we're going to move toward that direction, which I suspect that the trend is good because now the people are very comfortable, at least the younger generation now are very comfortable with this mobile service. Later on, you have to show me a bit what it is, right? Yeah, but what do you see the application in Cambodia?
I think we should start from the basics first. Most people when you want to go cashless, you should start with the bigger ticket item, right? So all the retailers should start accepting cards, not just at the bigger restaurants or the bigger retailers. All retailers should start accepting cards. That would really promote the use of the cards. And then later on, you should move to utilities, like payment for bus services or rail services that we're going to have, or if let's say Cambodia is to have like highway, then we should extend to the toll. So once you make it compulsory, for all these quick payment services, then the take-off would be take-up rate of the cards, usage of the cards.
So as a government, we need to have a legislative or regulatory framework to if we're going to make mandatory, right? It does in Singapore. Is that regulated?
Okay, it's not really mandatory. Like for example, for the road pricing, yes. Okay, if you want to drive, which is not really for the masses, then you need to have a IU in the car. IU stands for in-vehicle unit. Okay, you need to have an IU in the car, whereby you need to put in a stored value card for them to deduct your toll.
Yes.
So even if let's say Malaysian cars you drive into Singapore, you need to also have that card to be able to pay for all your parking.
Yeah.
So Singapore has basically gone cashless in terms of parking. You need to.
Okay. Yeah. So it could start with the private sector.
Yes.
Let's say a major, a building, commercial building like Eon or the new Oxley, the bridge, for example, right? They have the big parking. They could actually issue that, right? So when I go to Eon Mall, I go in. That machine pickup?
Yes. There could be various options. I mean, if let's say, for example, the most avant-garde would be, what we call like the ERP parking. You car just go and then the gantry will pick up titit and then it comes up titit and then it automatically deduct. That is really the avant-garde. But of course, you can start from, a little bit more basic instead of having the gantry to be able to read the IU. Which really it requires the car owner to install the IU. That is another effort. You could just start off with having a machine that reads the card. You can just tap.
So ERP is electronic
road pricing.
Road pricing, ERP. Yeah. But I think ERP is very common now. Like you go to Japan, you go to of course Singapore, but Malaysia, Thailand, is the same thing. It's become I would say part of people's life now.
Yes.
Right. In Cambodia we don't have a lot of toll road, right?
Which is good for the time being.
For the time being, but we are the government is in the process to build a new highway linking Phnom Penh to Sihanoukville, completely new highway, and I don't see why we're not going to put that whole system in place, right?
Yes.
So this is a good idea for the government to institute. But I would say that is one application, right?
Yes.
In terms of payment which affect the mass. But it could also lead to me paying my electricity bill.
Yes.
My water bill, right?
Yes.
And but again, the utility company will have to set up a special device or something?
There are many ways to pay utility bills, using the card.
Yes.
If let's say you are on the postpaid model, then of course, they will just send you the bill and then you can charge to your credit card. So I think the, card companies, credit card acquirers can just sign up the utilities company as one of their merchant, and then they will be able to collect payment on the debit card or the credit card.
Yeah.
But of course, there are also the prepaid model whereby, you can have a device. I think when I was at NETS, we did also explore with, hostels, whereby, the students need to prepay their electricity. Or it could be vending machines, right, whereby you want to dispense a drink or a snack, you can have a device, a reader, to be able to tap the card and then make the payment. So this actually comes to the difference between the MasterCard payment system and the NETS payment system for this particular usage. So MasterCard has a prepaid system, right? But it actually runs on a server that is online, so you still need to get authorization, right? Whereby the NETS stored value cards, your value is actually stored onto the card itself.
On the card
yes,
itself.
so there is actually the pros and cons of it, right? So if you loses your card, then correct, and then it's anonymous. So you don't store a lot of money in the stored value card, but it's very fast. There's no authorization required. You don't need to seek authorization and approval from the issuing bank. All the money is in the card. You just tap and then it's paid. So it's very fast. The transaction is very fast. It's split second.
So I see the application could be, I go to Brown Coffee, right?
Yes.
And there's a big queue. I don't feel like waiting for the queue. I just want a croissant. I can just tap it, right, in a separate counter, right? I could tap, I take my croissant, I could tap, I could walk out.
Yes.
So Brown, that's just an example, okay? Brown or any other coffee shop they could issue their own card then, right? Or does it have to go through a bank facility first?
Okay, it depends. Actually in Cambodia, I don't think there is any regulations about that. Okay, except that I think if it's your pure on us kind of cards, I think, and maybe a lower value, I think is okay to have your own cards.
Yes.
But if let's say the scale gets bigger, I feel that it will be better if let's say the bank is actually your custodian of the funds, because you don't want any retailer to collect money from the customer and then take it that this is actually their money and use it for their own expenses or the investments. So it should be, should have some rules governing that to say that, if let's say you want to be a stored value, issuer, stored value card issuer, and then you want to collect funds from the public, then it's best that, you get a bank to be your custodian of the funds, so that at least that the funds is
secure. Okay.
And then your the retailer or the stock value card issuer will have the the capability to repay should you want to use the funds in the card.
In that case, it should be an association or at least an associative grouping that will go for that, right? Not a single bank could just do it alone, right?
A single bank could do it alone.
Yes.
It's actually possible.
Yes.
Except that the bank has to be trusted. I'm not sure all the banks are trusted.
But then in terms of merchant though, there's so many merchants in the country, right? In terms of issuing the card,
it's best to get it could be they could actually go on the MasterCard prepaid wallet or the Visa prepaid wallet. Then banks who are already issuing Visa or MasterCards will be able to easily issue that prepaid card. But of course you can do the same with debit cards, and we have millions of cards out there.
Yes, I think there's about 1.5 million. Debit card, right?
Yes. So immediately, the card holders here can start going cashless. I think all we need is to get the merchant to accept the cards. Because I think the challenge, personally, how I feel here in Cambodia is the the telephone line does not work very well. So I think the GPRS terminal will work better. Because there were a few times I tried to pay with the card, and then they try to dial. And
well, that's a good time to take a break. When we come back, we're going to look a bit more. What would be the challenge in terms of to push nationwide to for a country to go cashless, for example. Good. Cynthia, okay, it sounds exciting, you know, a cashless society. Okay, but from Singapore, I can imagine, you know, what, 10 years ago you start something like this, or 15 years ago?
Because in the 1980s.
Wow.
Yeah.
More than 2 decades.
Yes. So it's really a journey.
It's a journey.
It's a journey.
Yeah.
Yes.
So in the case of Cambodia, well, I think in many ways, right? Cambodia is a post-crisis emerging, post-crisis 20 some years ago, right? Now we're moving toward being an emerging market. I don't like when people say that we are the last frontier. I believe there's other countries who are more the last frontier.
Yes.
We passed the last frontier already. We crossed the border already. Yes. Now we're emerging. But I think the development path is very similar. The good thing about us being in the ASEAN Economic Community is a lot of cross-learning. It's a lot of cross-observation. Wow, how can we emulate the other country experience? And the good thing of being a latecomer is that you don't have to repeat the same error, mistake that the first comer have done, right?
Totally agree.
Please. I mean, in the 20 years of Singapore, how was the journey?
How was the journey? I think it's really an ecosystem, right? You need to, you know, have the card holders, and you also need to have the merchants who accept the cards, right? You know, so Singapore started a long time ago. I think it was a government initiative, you know, that the country should go less cash, right? Not saying totally cashless, but cashless. Right, so I think the you know, the NETS company was like set up to, you know, handle the car park operations, ERP with an older version of the stock value card that's called the NETS Cash Card. Then of course you know, you also move into the also at the same time also encourage all you know, residents, you know, to pay using NETS. In fact, you know, now in Singapore, you don't say you pay by NETS. You say I want to NETS it. It becomes like a verb.
Okay.
Yeah, it becomes like a verb. So I think it's something that I think you know, Cambodia should start building our own brand.
Yes.
I think the country will have a central share switch, and it will be connecting all the bank's ATM network, and you know, all the local acquirers, you know, the banks who are already currently acquiring Visa, MasterCards, UP cards, you know, are also encouraged to be the acquirer for the local share switch cards. I think one of the things I brought up was that we don't have a payment brand. You know, then how do you have brand recognition, you know, at the point of sale, at the ATM, to say that, hey, I want to pay with this brand, right? Of course, if you talk about,
give me an example.
Example, like for example, NETS, you know, or Visa or MasterCard, you go to the counter, you say, I want to pay with Visa.
Okay.
I want to pay by.
That's the brand that
yes,
you're talking
that's
about.
the brand, the payments brand, right? So if when Cambodia, we actually have a central share switch, but we don't have a name. So how do you, you know, tell the merchant that I want to pay with this brand?
Okay.
Yeah.
So speaking of brand, it takes a long time to build the brand.
Yes.
But it will have to start clearly with a ecosystem, right?
Yes.
And I agree with you that it's a big fallacy to think that transacting in cash is not expensive. It is very expensive. You know, I would say I can just imagine a store, right? Because at the end of the day, you have to deliver the cash to the bank.
Yes.
That costs money.
Yes.
Security, safety, right?
Theft.
Yes. And then, you know, what happened on weekend? Bank are closed. You have to store your cash for the next 2 nights. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not easy. You know, well, I see all the time in Phnom Penh this armored truck, right? But I don't see that in Singapore, though.
Yeah.
I rarely see a armored truck in Singapore. Because they don't need it, I guess.
Because I think most of the transactions are done on the card. In fact, when I'm in Singapore, I don't even carry my wallet. I just carry my phone.
How does it work?
On my phone is actually my cards.
Yes.
Right. So, and of course, card acceptance is quite wide in Singapore, and most of the merchants that I patronize, actually do accept, Mastercard.
Yeah, but how does a card on the phone work?
Won't work. Like for example, you see this Maybank card on my Samsung phone.
Yes.
Right? It's any merchant that says they accept Samsung Pay will be able to.
So it's a card.
This is a card.
It's a digital Mastercard.
Yes,
awesome.
Digital Mastercard. Yes, and at the merchant, and then when I tell them I want to pay with Samsung Pay, then they will. Of course, the cashier have to be trained.
Yeah.
They will have to activate, to say Samsung Pay. And what I do is you can either pay with a PIN, or you can pay with your fingerprint. So if I choose to pay with my fingerprint, I can just press this, and then you see the
your signature there.
Yes. And then they are like trying to get the signal from the terminal, and then I'll just put my phone close to the payment terminal, and then my transaction is done.
So, I would actually have to. Right now, I would have to actually use my card, right?
Yes.
Right, use the card there. Well,
yes.
Unfortunately, it's Visa, this one. Yeah, but I do have a MasterCard. Right, so you have a MasterCard. This is a normal card.
Normal card.
People
Visa
have to.
you can store Visa card onto the phone as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So normally, traditionally in Cambodia now, you have to swipe or
insert the
or
card.
insert.
Yes,
right?
using the chip.
Yes, using the chip there.
Yes.
The chip there.
Yes.
But now it's possible not to carry this.
Yes.
And carry a phone.
Yes.
I think it's more safety, no?
Even if, let's say, you have it on your Apple phone, it's possible. We do have, you can have Apple Pay as well.
How does Apple Pay differ to MasterCard or Visa, for example?
Actually, for Apple Pay, you can also store your Visa or MasterCard. So the whether it is Samsung Pay or Apple Pay is basically on the operating system of the phone. So it depends on what phone you use. If you are using Apple, then it will be Apple Pay, but you can still, store your Visa or MasterCard onto the phone. So the difference between Samsung Pay and Apple Pay is that Samsung Pay allows you to allows the the merchant to use the existing terminal to be able to accept the payments using this contactless mode. But Apple Pay requires you to have another device, which is like a contactless device. So you cannot use that normal terminal.
So the regular merchant would probably prefer the Samsung then, because they don't have to have an additional device.
Yes. Well, the device are usually provided by the bank.
Okay.
But of course, in terms of user experience, it's always better to have a separate device, that is like facing you, and then the merchant doesn't have to like pass that device to you for you to tap near it.
Okay.
So in terms of user experience, you can.
So it's like so the camera will look at you, right?
Yeah, you can have like a contactless device here, and then you can just use your phone and then just tap right in front of you.
Interesting. How? Okay.
So that's in terms of user experience.
All right.
So
how
adoption also depends on user experience.
That's it. Adoption, That was what I was about to say. How do you build the awareness for the people to actually move to that level? Is that at the consumer base or at the institutional base, which is at the retail level? How do you go about that?
Okay, I think everybody should play a part. Like for example, for us, we basically want to promote cashless. So for our Visa debit card, we do have a usage program. Yeah. So all you need to do is to spend like $500, every quarter, and you'll be able to redeem a gift. So we do have a reward for customers who use the card. Yes. So we want to promote cashless. Yes. So actually spending $500 in a quarter is quite easy. Yes. Right? Yes. I mean, you drive, you pump petrol, is like maybe $40, $50 a week. Already. And then a month is like, let's say $200. Yes. You just pump petrol for 3 months, you just put all your petrol bill onto the card, you meet $500.
And then the petrol company would just wire the money back to the bank? Is that what it is?
No, okay. You pay your bill at the petrol company.
Yes.
So the Maybank will, through the, the Visa network,
Yeah.
will do the settlement, directly to the merchant.
the petrol. Oh,
so
to the merchant.
The merchant, which is a petrol company,
Yes.
they do not need to worry that the funds are not in their account.
Okay. So ecosystem require a bank provider, that's for sure.
Yes.
Right? And then the merchant, because they must have the equipment.
So the banks can play two roles. One is in terms of issuing the cards,
Yes.
and the other is in terms of acquiring the merchants. And of course, education at both ends.
Yes.
At the cardholder and also at the merchant is equally important.
Yes.
Because like for example, when you first receive your card, make sure you sign on the card.
You sign.
Yes.
Physically sign.
Physically sign on the card.
Yes.
Because, that's how the merchant will verify that you are the right card holder. So if you receive the card, you don't, sign on the card. What if your card is lost?
Yeah.
And then some customers feel that, if my card is lost, I have to bear all the liability. So I keep my card at home. Then you don't use the card.
Yes.
Right? So I think the key is that, don't have too many cards, have just, one or two in your wallet.
Yes.
Okay. And then you make sure that the card is always there and you sign on your card. And every time you go, whatever you pay, buy for coffee, lucky supermarket shopping, everything you pay on the card.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, give me some idea. Say, for example, I see now sprucing up throughout Phnom Penh, and now start to see more and more in a major city now, like in Siem Reap or in Kampong Cham, Battambang, a growing middle class, okay? IT savvy. Everyone have at least one smartphone, if not two. Some will even have this big iPad, which once you get used to it, you cannot live without it, right? There's so many functions that you can do that. But now, how do you actually get them to say, look, let's embrace that, right? So many coffee shops, so many grocery stores, so many, they're just sprucing up all over town. How do you go about, today to say, look, let's go cashless? What does it have? What do we have to do now? Does it require a regulatory level? Does it require an association of a bank? Does it require what? I mean,
I think the
tell us, how do you build the ecosystem now? Yeah.
I think the consumer, will have to, want to use the card. Okay. So there will be two levels. Just now I said that the part whereby the banks, should give rewards and encourage customers to spend on the card itself. Okay. Right? And then, of course...
There have to be a motivation somehow.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, because, changing habit. It's like...
I agree.
I have always been paying by cash, so why do I want to pay by card? Then, of course, the bank should also educate the customers to say that, yes, you have a reward. But do you know that, if you pay by card, you actually save a lot more in the sense that, now, let's say, for example, I buy something for like maybe $42.30.
Yes.
I get back some change in real that is less than $1. And what do I do with the
you don't know what to do with it. Yeah.
You don't know what to do with it, right?
Yes.
So, it's one of the ways to actually promote, one of the good things about paying by card is that you don't have to worry about the small change,
yes.
right? And subsequently, when we move to Cambodia, it's easier.
For the conversion.
For the conversions, for the conversions, it's a lot easier. You don't have to think that, how much is USD, how much is Khmer. No, immediately, it's just one final sum, and then you can just pay with it. You don't have to mentally. I mean, if the exchange rate of $1 US to 4,000 is easy,
yes.
But if it's like, if the exchange rate changes,
4,150, something like this.
Yeah, then that would be pose a challenge, and then you may not even count your cash,
yes.
and then you actually lose out on the money. Okay. So you might as well just spend everything on card, get your rewards, and then you have less sort of breakages. That is
good.
If you still want to tip the service, the service staff, it's okay. You can still pay in cash.
Okay,
Right?
you're right. All right.
You still do that.
Good.
It doesn't stop you from
carrying cash.
From carrying cash to tip the service staff.
Good.
Of course, the merchant, also need to be trained to know how to
Yes.
accept the card.
Yes. I think we're gonna have another break, and when we come back, we're gonna focus more on the step to build that ecosystem, so that in the next couple of years, Cambodia can at least in the major city, be sort of like I wouldn't say totally cashless, but predominantly cashless. That's the goal.
Cashless.
Cashless.
Less.
Yes. Good. Cynthia, I mean, it's exciting. To me, we now have 1.5 million debit card user, right? Now, what it means is that 1.5 million people have used, without knowing it, this cashless system, right? Now, how do we build more awareness so that they can start seeing the benefit of moving from just holding a debit card into using more devices, like they have the Apple Pay, the Samsung Pay, all that sort of thing. You mentioned about building an ecosystem, which is great, right? Now, from my perspective, I think we have to be able to make it in such a way that is friendly user, right? Because we're not dealing with sophisticated, not everybody can program on that phone, right? So how do you go about that?
Okay, maybe just now, since you say that this is the beginning of the year, and
Yes, yeah.
this New Year is come, this Chinese New Year,
Yes.
this Khmer New Year. Well, of course, we do want people to stay in the country during the New Year.
Yes.
But there will be some who may
Who will
want
travel.
who may want to travel, and I feel that one of the just now we talk about convenience. I personally feel that booking air ticket using the mobile app is the easiest.
Is that right?
Yes.
How so? I want to fly to Singapore.
Oh, you want to fly to Singapore? You can download. Okay, let's say for example, I
Yeah.
have a folder that's full of apps.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I have the Singapore Air app, Malaysia Air app, Air Asia, Jetstar, Google Map,
Yes.
Scoot, Tiger Air, all the airlines. I have
Yeah.
them on my phone.
Yes.
Then if I want to book, let's say for example, Singapore.
Singapore Airlines.
Singapore Airline, right? So, with the app, you can manage your booking, you can do your check-in,
Okay.
you can
And
do
then pay right there.
and then pay right there. Yes, and of course, take care because online transactions, some customers may not feel that is secure. Right, so there's two issues when you want to do transactions on the phone. A lot of customers say, "Is your phone secure? Should I be using my laptop or is my card secure?
Yes.
If I were to use it on the phone."
Okay.
So I think the what we want to say that is like the app on the phone is actually more secure than even, let's say, the website, because
Is that right?
website, they could be phishing.
Yes, yes.
Whereby people could the phishing website would look very similar to your website, but it's a fake website. But on the app, you know that you have downloaded the app,
Yes.
and it is genuine and it's from the App Store or from the Play Store
of the Play
of the Play. So it's definitely secure, and it is definitely a genuine genuine app. And when you pay, take note, you should only have cards that will send you a one-time password or a
Yes.
transaction authentication code. Like for example, Maybank, all our cards have 3D secured.
Yes.
So if you were to transact online, okay, for all merchants that support 3D secure, they will send you.
What is 3D? 3D secure. What is that?
Well, 3D secure means that they have another additional authentication,
Yes,
so that
yeah.
they will send you, the 3D secure merchant will send you another layer of security.
Of security. To confirm.
To confirm, yes.
Yeah.
Which usually when you were to key in, you only key in your card number,
Yes.
and then the 3-digit CVV
Yes.
code. But for 3D merchant, they have one more layer. They will send you a one-time password. The
Yes.
acquirer will send you a one-time password,
Yes.
right? So you will receive it on your phone.
Yes.
And then you will separately, and then via a SMS, and then you have to key in that code onto the phone, then the transaction is go through.
Okay.
If let's say you go to a merchant or uses a card that does not support this, then you basically run the risk of people using your card. So let's say, for example, Maybank card, we support the 3D secured, and you were able to receive a one-time password every time you
But
transact.
Cynthia, I ran to a issue not about even payment. It's about your email, account, right? You travel to another country. I won't mention the name of the country, and then suddenly they say, look, you have to reconfirm your security, and then they say, okay, you can reconfirm by phone.
Yes.
Right. But by phone, you need to have the phone because you use a local phone number, right? 855, which is Cambodia.
Yes.
But if my SIM card is not on roaming in that country, I wouldn't be able to receive that new additional level.
Yes.
So there's some technical difficulty like that also.
Yes.
But at least for safety reasons, it's better to have that 3D level, right?
Yes, and then there's also increasingly, there's also a lot of, since we talk about email, there's also, maybe just want to alert that there's a lot of people that hack your email.
Yes.
Right? I think that one we did some investigation. It's likely that, there's a lot of sites. There's a lot of sites that ask you to sign up for their membership using your email. Right? And a lot of customers think that they have to use an email password for that site.
Yes.
So they key in their genuine email password into those sites that ask you to sign up for membership.
Yes.
That actually you do not need to use your real email password.
So you can
They're just using your email address as the ID.
Yes.
But a lot of customers were confused. They think that they have to use that email password.
Yes.
And that's how the fraudsters actually get hold of their email password and start to hack into their email.
Cynthia, I want to move a bit on the application from the payment, because payment is a tool, right?
Yes.
Payment is a tool. I think the tool should serve a larger purpose. In this case, it should be promoting e-commerce per se, not just only direct payment, which is to me is still a contact to contact transaction. E-commerce, it's more in the cyberspace, right? You're ordering from Amazon.com, you're ordering whatever. How do you see the payment system, the e-payment system in Cambodia supporting eventually an e-commerce environment in Cambodia?
Okay, I think the of course payment using the cards is one which I shared just now. Like for example, booking on Singapore Airlines, Amazon.com. That one you can use a card, and customers should use a card that has 3D secure enabled. But in terms of local, there's another way that you could do payments. Like for example, we have a fast system, the local fast system, whereby you can do a lot of P2P transfer.
Okay.
Right? So
P2P is
person to person transfer. So I can basically do a fund transfer to you using my mobile phone. So Maybank allows our customers, to be able to send funds, to any bank customers in Cambodia. So if let's say I have to do an e-commerce transaction, okay, and you do not really, if you want e-commerce to grow, e-commerce does not need to be a big merchant whereby you have to sign up by a big credit card acquirer.
Yes.
E-commerce, it can be a lot of small merchants. So you and me, we can be a e-commercing, right? I could have some things I want to sell, because you see, I personally feel that, Cambodians have high entrepreneurship. They like to buy things here and then they want to sell, they want to offload. So anyone can be an e-commerce merchant. You have a mobile phone, you have internet. Instead, I can do a fund transfer to you, and then when you receive your payment, you can send the goods to me. And this happened a lot, among the younger adults in Singapore, in Malaysia. They just trade a lot of things online.
Cynthia, before we talk a lot about PayPal, Alibaba or whatever. But these are all payment alternative, right?
Yes, of course you can. Yes, but of course, like PayPal, of course, they give you additional security,
Yes.
in the sense that they will ensure that you receive the goods before the merchant receive the funds. So this way,
But you still have to put the money in the account, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
So for this is, if let's say for example, it is like small value ticket
Yes,
items,
yes.
and there's a lot of people that there's a lot of so-called social media itself will rate the seller, whether the person is genuine in delivering the goods. There's a lot of feedback and comment on the seller now on social media. If let's say you're selling something on Q10 or you're selling something, on Carousel, people do rate you as a seller and also do rate you as a buyer.
Yes.
Yeah. And,
Okay.
Yeah. So having just fund transfer, do facilitate e-commerce between individuals who wants to just offload some of the little things that they have.
Yes,
which will actually help promote trade and going cashless. Instead of I seeing you and have to pay you cash and you give me the goods directly, I may be able to build a trust. The community will be rating me. I would want to ensure that I will continue to do the business, and I can take your money first, or I can send you the goods and then you can pay me via fund transfer.
Well, it's quite interesting. Now, I see a lot of opportunity in Cambodia. That's why, to me, every time I look at this number, 1.5 million debit card, right, I think it's a good start. The trick is, how do we extract more from that group of 1.5 million people, maybe less household, maybe everyone in the household have a debit card. But nonetheless, you're still talking about a good number, a good critical mass, if I can say. It's a good critical mass to start developing some extra value for them, right? And I think for a country as small as Cambodia, it's not bad. Not bad. 15 million people, 1.5 million card, is 10% card user. And it's only the beginning.
Yes.
It's only the beginning.
In fact, I think Phnom Penh is good because it's not such a big city. If every merchant in Phnom Penh can accept cards, we'll definitely promote cashless payment.
Yes.
Even maybe the tuk-tuk driver.
And why not?
Yeah.
I think with tuk-tuk, it's probably in Cambodia we call remorque. It's from a French word remorque, right? Tuk-tuk is more from a neighboring country, Thailand. So we like to call it remorque, right? Remorque. Well, a lot of Khmer words are deriving from French, like pain. Pain is a French word for bread, and over the year become nom pang. Nom pang is a Khmer word for bread, for pain. See, so remorque is coming over the year become remorque. You get on. You go to Siem Reap, you want to get on remorque, right? But remorque is a good example on how convenient it is people to just hop on it. $2, take me to Siem Reap, take me to Satamay, whatever, right? $2, $1, or 2,000 real for that matter. This is great. Cynthia, you have to push that. You have to push that, because I think, to me, is what I wouldn't call that financial inclusion per se, right? There's different connotation in terms of that concept. But I'm saying financial penetration. It's more the right word.
Yes.
Financial penetration down to the mass. Because, to be fair, right? You go to the bank to deposit, say, $100. It's nice. But if you have $3, you're not going to go to the bank and deposit. You look embarrassed. But with this thing, you can do it faceless, right? Say, look, I just say $3. I'm a local lady who sells stuff on the sidewalk, right, of the market. Why can I not say? Why can I not have access to this payment system? I think that's a great thing to stop the discussion, and we have a lot of good idea already. I hope the audience will benefit from that.
Yes, thank you.
All right? Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Yeah.
So good.